Shalom to everyone who has come to this video. According to some reports, United States citizens are expected to spend $26 billion for Valentine's Day this year. Some stats say that other than Christmas, this is the holiday where Americans spend the most money. So this holiday is another way for the special interests and primary shareholders behind many of these companies to suck more money out of you while simultaneously tricking you into observing a watered down version of an ancient pagan Roman festival.
Are back. It's hard to believe that Valentine's Day is just 12 days away. Do you have a plan for your sweetheart? We'll never underestimate the power of a beautiful bouquet.
We are thrilled to have Amelia's Flowers here to show us some stunning flowers that you can either buy for your loved ones or yourself. Please welcome owner Maddie Bush.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Okay, your flower truck, I know you have a store as well. The flower truck kind of speaks for itself. It became a viral sensation.
Yes.
It's gorgeous. What do you think sets you guys apart and like what led to this viral creation?
Yeah.
So this so-called holiday involves men purchasing gifts such as flowers for women and people feeling a sense of exclusion if they are single. This so-called holiday can be traced back to the Lupercalia festival held in ancient Rome, where it is believed that men were randomly paired with women through a drawing, and the couple spent the duration of the festival with one another. The reason why you often see Cupid in relation to Valentine's Day is because Cupid is a deity in Roman mythology embodying carnal love, which has a ubiquitous association with this celebration. Cupid is the offspring of Mercury, who is the winged divine messenger, as well as Venus, who is the goddess of affection. And in artistic renditions, you'll see Cupid depicted as a cherubic figure equipped with bows and arrows, believed to inflict wounds that ignited feelings of passion or love in their recipients. And the Greek god Eros is the Greek equivalent of Cupid, and they are also believed to be synonymous with the Egyptian deity known as Hippocrates, also known as the child Horus.
Yeah, well, the flower trucks are out of old vintage Volkswagens, so that definitely sets us apart. And we're also a build your own bouquet.
Yeah.
So you get to pick by the stem, build your own bouquet, and make something unique.
Oh my God, I love
How
it.
personalized for each and every person. What are the trends that you are seeing this year?
I think people are going away from the muted tones and going towards pastels and more bright colors this year.
And the reason why men specifically give women flowers and roses on this day is because this is what was offered to the Roman goddess Venus, who is synonymous with the Greek goddess Aphrodite. As you can see here, it says, "I will now tell of the festival of the Venalia, yea, common girls," which can also mean prostitutes. It says, "Common girls celebrate the divinity of Venus. Venus favors the earnings of ladies of a liberal profession. Offer incense and pray for beauty and popular favor. Pray to be charming and witty. Give to the queen her own myrtle and the mint she loves, and bands of rushes hid in clustered roses. Now is the time to throng her temple next the Colline Gate. The temple takes its name from the Sicilian hill." So again, this is the reason why men are made to believe that they are to give women flowers, and specifically roses as well. And according to myth, as you can read about in the Metamorphoses, which is a Latin narrative poem written in either the 1st century BC or the 1st century AD by the Roman poet Ovid, when the god Adonis was killed by a wild boar, Aphrodite declared that out of his blood would spring up a flower, as you see on the last 2 lines on the screen here. And there are other renditions of the story that say that she pricked her foot on a white rose while she was running to his aid, and she therefore stained the flower with her blood, turning it red. And it is said that this was the first red rose to ever appear on Earth. So we're going to check this video out and I'm going to give my comments.
Year, millions of kids give cards and candy to their classmates or secret crush. But why? Who invented Valentine's Day? And when did it start?
And you can see here the figure of Cupid. And the Roman poet Ovid wrote a book called Fasti. And in this book, in book 4, Ovid refers to the goddess Venus as the mother of the twin loves. And so when you see winged figures, such as you see on the screen here, of juvenile or androgynous appearance, they are commonly associated with the goddess Venus. And these figures are identified with, of course, Cupid, but also Eros or Erotis, which is the plural form of Eros. So in other words, again, as I already stated, Cupid is the child of who? The child of the goddess Venus, aka Aphrodite. And these are nothing more than demonic entities, by the way, that the followers of the mystery religion would revere. And they simply present it to you in a package that appears palatable. And the reason why Cupid is a androgynous figure or an androgynous looking boy is because the Romans and especially the Greeks were into pederasty, as many of you already know. By the way, Cupid actually had 2 different types of arrows. One with a golden tip to make people, quote unquote, fall in love. And the other with a lead or silver blunted tip to make people fall out of love or even hate someone. So again, this is why Valentine's Day is all about superficial relationships. This entity, aka demon, can destroy your marriage if it wants to, and or make you become enamored with anyone of its choosing.
Let's find out on today's episode of Colossal Question. As you probably know, Valentine's Day, also known as Saint Valentine's Day, is a holiday held every year on February 14th to celebrate our loved ones, give them cards, candy, and other gifts to show them how we feel. Who is Saint Valentine? And why was this lovely holiday named after him? It's hard to say. For starters, there are several different saints named Valentine. Experts can't say for sure which one is the man behind the holiday, but some believe it's named after Saint Valentine of Rome, who died in 269 AD after defying the emperor. Claudius II decided that single men made better soldiers than guys with wives and families, so he outlawed marriage for young men of fighting age. Saint Valentine defied the emperor's orders and continued performing marriage ceremonies for young, love-struck couples in secret until he was discovered and put to death. Okay, so the history of how the holiday got its name is murky to say the least.
That's right, the details of that story are dubious. However, Saint Valentine was a priest or bishop of Rome who lived in the 3rd century and was purportedly martyred and buried on February 14th on or about 269 AD. So on a surface level, the holiday is in commemoration of Saint Valentine. But as many of you know, the Roman Church has many holidays commemorating many other so-called saints as well, although we are not told to do so in the Bible. This is how they disguise pagan rituals and trick you into partaking in the mystery religion. No different than the adulation of the so-called Virgin Mary, aka the Madonna, who is nothing more than the Mother Goddess.
But what about its date? Why does Valentine's Day fall on February 14th? Most experts believe it was picked to keep the tradition of an old Roman festival called Lupercalia. It was a day-long holiday dedicated to love and fertility held on the 15th of February each year.
In the late 5th century AD, you had Pope Gelasius I, who eliminated the pagan celebration of Lupercalia by issuing a letter called Letter 100 to Andromachus, which can be found online, written in Latin. And throughout the process of time, due to the blending of paganism and religious tradition, this day became celebrated as Valentine's Day. And the reason why this observance occurs during the month of Februarius, which is where we get the word February, the reason why the festival took place at this time is because it was a festival of purification. The Latin term februm translates to purify, and to be februated means to undergo a process of purification. And so the Luperci were Roman priests who performed sacrifices of goats and dogs during the Lupercalia festival, which was held around February 15th in honor of the deity Lupercus, also known as Faunus, who is also equated with the Greek god Pan. At the site of the Lupercal Cave, which was located near the southwestern base of the Palatine Hill in Rome, and you can look that up on Google Maps, the priests would flay the skins of goats that they sacrificed, and they would adorn themselves partially with these pieces, mimicking the depiction of Lupercus as half naked and half covered in goat skin. And the remaining portions of the goat skins were then fashioned into thongs, which the priests would use to run through the streets of the city and administer symbolic purification by striking or touching people with the thongs, particularly women. And it was believed that this ritualistic act of being struck with the goatskin thongs conferred benefits such as increased fertility and smoother childbirth. The goatskin was referred to as februm, and the month, as I already mentioned, was Februarius, and the god was Februus. And the Lupercalia is still officially celebrated today by the adherents of the Satanic Temple. And they celebrate it on February 13th and 14th as feast days. All of this is around the Wiccan season called Imbolc, or Imbolc, which begins in the beginning of February, which is also a time for celebrating the Celtic goddess Bridget, because it marks the recovery of the goddess after giving birth to the god. In other words, the season of purification, such as you see in the ancient world where women would have a time period of purification after giving birth to a child, which you even read about in the Torah in Leviticus chapter 12. And this is where you get the concept of spring cleaning from. Nimrod is also said to have been born during the winter solstice. So Semiramis, the mother of Nimrod, was said to have been purified and to have appeared with her son as the original mother and child around this time.
As Christianity spread across the Roman Empire, Lupercalia was outlawed and replaced with a church-approved version held the day before, known as Saint Valentine's Day, that took its place. By the Middle Ages, lovers began giving Valentines to each other. The oldest known Valentine was written in 1415 by Charles, Duke of Orleans, to his wife, while he was locked up in the Tower of London after being captured in battle. A woman named Esther Howland, known today as the mother of the American Valentine, invented the first mass-produced version, which was decorated with lace, colored paper, ribbons, and other things we're still using to make them. Today, almost 150 million Valentine's Day cards are sent every year, and that number is only growing. So this year, if you've got a special someone on your mind, do what people have done for thousands of years. Work up the nerve to write them a Valentine.
Yep, go ahead and spend that Valentine money. And this day is also known as Candlemas, which is also known as the presentation of the Lord or presentation of Christ, aka Hypopante, which is still celebrated as a feast by the Roman Catholic Church today. And the earliest extant reference to this festival is from the Peregrinatio Aethere, where in the 4th century, the Western pilgrim Aetheria purportedly attended its celebration in Jerusalem on the 40th day after celebrating the Roman Christian holiday called the Epiphany, which at least in modern calendars would mean it was celebrated in the middle of February. As I've explained in other videos, such as my video titled Why Christians Can't Understand the Bible Part 2, the blending of paganism with biblical stories and biblical characters had already began in the 1st and 2nd century AD. Shalom.